Angry guy here. And men have walked away from a society that hates them. Men have walked away from a society that hates them. If you look at Western society does not like men. Men are treated like second class citizens in Western society. They are treated extremely poorly. They are looked down upon. They are ostracized. And it's no wonder that men have said, you know what, we're done. We are walking away from this, from the nonsense. Look at this comment right here. This actually came from Airhead. And I believe actually Airhead, I think he was a former Marine. Forgive me if I'm wrong. He said, I learned my lesson after two divorces. Both ex wives wanted alimony in the divorces. Never, never again. Never I could have been married three more times. I never bring up marriage. I never did it. It was the female. These women see my lifestyle and try to say, well, I would marry you, but I'm not trying to work forever. WTF? No. And that's in response to a video of women are telling off male feminists. Now, as you can see, men are, the men who've done this, who've been married, who've gone through the ringer, they tell other men, don't do it. You are not missing anything, okay? You are absolutely not missing anything. Westerns, I did it. I regret doing it. I was once a simp, in fact, and I repent for my simping. I repent because there's so many dudes who they don't learn their lesson until they finally learn their lesson. Society does not like men. Women do not like men in Western society. They do not like us. If you look at how they treat us, and they're not going to admit to it. Look at this comment from this woman. I it's I this is in response to a post. A wedding is nothing more than a modern day indentured servant ceremony. She responds, BS. The indoctrination tells you that. I am married for 20 years. I got support, stability for my kids, a partner in crime, and fun. Fun time. Single people are the happiest people alive. Fact, no, that's single women. Statistically, single men are actually outliving everyone at this point. So single men are outliving single women at a rapid rate. They're beginning to outlive essentially everyone. These guys are living into their 80s and 90s. Okay, and that's extremely telling. And very few women will be honest about it. Very few women will actually tell the truth. Mayumi, for example, she tells the truth. She said, I love this channel. This is in response to wickedness is catching up to the modern woman. She said, I love this channel because Angry Guy exposes the harpies who destroy what it means to be a family, motherhood, happiness, and love. I enjoy watching them cry because they destroy so many good men's lives out of greed and hate. I don't consider myself a modern woman because even though I came from a family that has lineage, I've lived on farms in northern Japan. I don't own a handbag that costs the GDP of small countries or a lot of shoes that will make Imelda Marcos envious. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not sit here being greedy. Western women will always be the butt of my jokes. Something interesting. I've spoken to Mayumi about this privately. Her English, why is her English so good? And she basically told me that it's because of her parents. She had very uh, serious parents that were very serious about her education, and she's grateful for it. And she worked very hard so that she would be understood. And she has superior English. And I had Soraya on recently. Finally, I had Miss Soraya on, and I asked Soraya about her English as well. Why is her English so good? And she said that she started learning English in school, and I think at around 10 years old. So this is not something that she just was born knowing. Like they just, I guess, spoke it at home or whatever. She started learning English around 10, evidently, and learning the Queen's English, as she called it. And from there, she came to the United States. She spent about 2 years learning English. I believe it was in Philadelphia, and she basically picked up the Philadelphia accent. So she picked up the Philadelphia accent within 2 years, and she can speak better English, using an American dialect. And we talked about the number of languages she could also speak. She can speak English, she can speak Turkish, she can speak German. She does speak Spanish, although she said she has to work on it. But it seems like her Spanish is better than my Spanish, which absolutely sucked because I lived overseas for so many years. I mean, I lived in a Spanish speaking country, but yeah, it's it is what it is. But it's just to show you how wired, like how much different the foreign woman is compared to the Western woman, who absolutely despises men in Western society that despises men. And no, it's crazy. And I think, and Sarai also mentioned that she used to speak French, which is ridiculous. And this is just a normal thing. Like, it's completely normal in Europe for people to speak multiple languages. Very, very normal. I mean, America is the only country where, a lot of the women in our country barely can speak our language. It's the truth. It's the honest to goodness truth. And then, they go after the passport kings who are going overseas trying to do better for themselves. And these are men who are going to other countries. Think about this carefully. These are men who are going to countries where they don't speak the language, and they are learning the language. They're going to they are going over to the Philippines. And even though a lot of, for example, the Filipina P will say that, the men that go to the Philippines don't need to learn Tagalog because, there are many other languages over there. There's a lot of men who go to the Philippines and learn Tagalog just so that they can communicate in a different language they want to learn. There are all these brothers heading over to Colombia, Dominican Republic, Brazil is they speak Portuguese in Brazil. And these men are learning the language. And you have women, you have other men trying to criticize these dudes because sometimes their Spanish is not perfect. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, these men are in, like, for example, DR, and they're speaking to the women on the street with the Spanish that they have, and y'all are criticizing these men. These are men, and then, like, oh, they're just gonna end up getting Control Alt Deleted. These men went to another country, and they are actively learning the language, and they are braver than you are. You're sitting at home looking at the hub, and the only thing that you're, and hanging out with Jill, and it's like you think that you're better than these men. These men have homes in other countries. These men are branching out. These men are starting businesses overseas. These men have been able to find a way to survive. These men are creating a legacy, something different. The experiences that these guys are having is insane. Think about this carefully. A lot of these men are just starting out, becoming travelers. Where are these men going to? And some of these men are just in their 30s, and then you have guys who are even in their 20s getting in on this. Where these men are going? Where are these men going to be in 10 years, in 20 years, after having all of this experience as travelers, after being able to learn these different languages, when things start going down in Western society, and people start trying to rush out of Western society and relocate overseas because they cannot afford America anymore. Like, I'm just being real. A lot of men today are just complete, like, they're not really, they have no real survival value because they run their mouths and they talk about these kings that have found a way to do the things that they cannot do. And modern women, they absolutely resent these men. They resent that these men are leaving. They resent that these men are surviving without them. They resent that these men are going to other countries and pulling real baddies in other countries, all right, that will cook, clean for them, be submissive, and literally, and speak to them and speak to them in a way that they've never been spoken to before. Like, for example, I will tell you this. You know, when I remember, like, I spoke to Sabraya, like, once we got off recording yesterday, and it was like, and I even said it to her, the way that she spoke to me, the way she speaks to me, it's something that it literally shocked me because I've never had a woman speak to me like this before, and it's like what? It's like, just like, for example, like, we were talking about her being involved in other videos. I want her to be on regularly. I want her to co-host regularly with us. That was something I had wanted to do a long time ago, almost back to the very creation of this new channel. It just like certain things did not align, but we're getting on track now. And she was like, definitely, we're talking about it. And then she was basically like, you can tell me, like, if you have any feedback and this, like, so that I can make sure I'm doing this right, and just and maybe I could ask questions, but it's your channel, so we'll decide on that. It was just like, she talked about like how she does that. Another video, she talked about how she'll speak to her husband and ask her husband, is she doing things right as a wife? Is there anything that she can change? Is there anything that he doesn't like? And then I looked at how she was speaking to me, and I could just see, like, this is just how she speaks to men in general. And it's like a whole different level of respect. And men in Western society don't get that. Women, they're so masculine, they're so deeply in their masculine, they don't know how to be feminine. They don't know how to allow a man to lead. They don't know how to rely on a man's feedback. How can a man be firmly in his masculine if a woman is trying to overpower him and overrule him? Like, women in Western society, they are told to speak over men. If they're in the workforce, if they're in the office, they're commercials. Speak over the man. Be assertive. Don't let them call you bossy. Guess, like, seriously, as men, we understand hierarchy. We 100% understand hierarchy, and we also learn that there are times when you should keep your damn mouth shut. But women, they think that they have the right to always be heard. This is absolutely incorrect, because as men know, we do not have the right to be heard. We have to fight for that right. And more often than not, the person who's doing the most speaking is not the smartest person in the room. But women often think that this is how that having influence means that you will always be heard, and you're always speaking, and you're always at the center of attention. That's absolutely incorrect. That's absolutely incorrect. Sometimes you have these large companies out there, and a good deal of the time, people don't even know who the actual person is that runs the company, because he's in the background. You know, he's doing, instead of being out there and trying to be the center of attention, he's actually doing. He is busy doing while everyone else is running their mouths. He's busy doing. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. Men have walked away from a society that hates them. What do you guys think about this? I want to hear your thoughts, so let's talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.